All right, the Bucks. It is Talking Buccaneers with me, Fumani Msisinyani, after All Stars 0, Orlando Pirates 2 at the Vit Stadium. I think this game almost turned into one of those upsets that we always anticipate in this competition, the Nedbank Cup. The main reason for that is because, well, maybe one, the conditions, which weren't as bad as I thought they would be, because there's been heavy rain in Johannesburg since maybe 2 days ago. So I thought the ground would soak up a lot of water, which would make it hard for the players to play. Maybe that was the case, but after seeing the second half and seeing how fluent we looked, I think maybe that wasn't the reason for the first half being so terrible from Pirates. I think the main reason for that is just the lineup that the coach selected. I think just seeing the lineups come up before the game started, I already thought that we made it difficult for ourselves, especially with the insistence to play two defensive midfielders, even games that you think maybe we should be looking to try and dominate, especially in the middle of the park. So, I mean, Pirates are very fortunate in that Goodman Musele had to be subbed off in the first half, and it's nothing against Goodman Musele. I just think that we all needed for the team to play with a bit of creativity and with a bit of command on the ball. And Goodman Musele is just a different player. He's a good player in his own right, maybe especially in a defensive sense. I think he's quite a decent player. That's the reason why he's at Orlando Pirates. That's the reason why he's in the PSL. But I just think that with players like Ndabaiteto Ndlondlo, you've got a whole different dimension. He's someone who brings a whole different um, style and contribution to the team, something that was really needed. I think in the first half he was struggling a lot. Ndabaiteto Ndlondlo, he had a stinker in the first half. He couldn't find his teammates. Um, he was only finding people behind him. So only the defenders were the people that he was making successful passes to. But the players in front of him, and I mean, I give him credit because he's always adventurous. He's always looking to make the vertical pass to his teammates and to find someone in front of him. But with every single one of those passes that he tried in the first half, they were getting intercepted. He couldn't find Kabelo Dlamini, who was playing in front of him and Tim. So Tim and Ndlondlo were playing as the two deep lying, that Tim as the defensive midfielder and Ndlondlo more as like a deep lying playmaker. But both were playing in the number 6 position, and Kabelo Dlamini was playing in the number 8/10, depending how you think about it. So he couldn't find Dlamini at all. He didn't find any pass to him. I don't think he made a successful pass. Every time he tried to slot the ball in between the midfield of All Stars, they intercepted and hit us on the counter. And maybe I need to give credit to All Stars because they were very compact. You could see that they had a game plan. They knew they were going to stifle Pirates to playing the balls to the sides and just stay compact and narrow. And as soon as they got the ball, they'd spread very quickly and yeah, just hit us on the counter with Nyembe. If I'm not mistaken, it was Nyembe and Figueiredo, the two forwards of All Stars. I think Figueiredo is actually quite a dangerous player. He's got a lot of pace and directness, which um, almost could have hurt Pirates in the first half. Had they had the quality, and no disrespect to them, had they had the quality to find him and piece together something with some quality, I think they could have easily hurt Pirates. Pirates were at 6s and 7s. I think Mtetwa, yeah, I mean he's also just like same sentiments with Goodman Musele. I think he's a Pirates player, which obviously says something about him, but there's a bit of a golfing class. You can see just a drop off in quality, and maybe it's because he hasn't played games, and maybe it's because he just needs a number of games consecutively to get himself to the confidence and to the dominance that he would need to play with to be in that Pirates team. But I just saw the drop off in quality from Sivisi, and Sivisi, I don't think Sivisi is much of a great ball player, especially, but I don't see him as a top center back. I think he's a good center back. I think at Pirates we can do better with some of the players that are in our starting 11 a lot of the time. But Sivisi is a very good player. Don't get me wrong. Um, but even then, I think from Sivisi to Mtetwa is a bit of a drop off in quality, and so I thought we could have been hurt. I thought Marco dealt with the fair few battles that he had with Figueiredo on the right quite well. So I mean, yeah, just to summarize the first half, I think one of the few problems with Pirates, or without taking credit away from All Stars, is that we just didn't have people in the channels enough. I think on the right, we had a few. We had, well, Saleng would occupy that right channel, and Martin would do well to at least be wide, even though I think also he lacks a bit of quality, especially when he then gets the ball. I think his positional sense was good in the first half, in that he stretched All Stars wide so that Saleng would at least occupy the half space in between, which is great. But I think then the problem would be that on the left side, you have Paseka Mako, who wants to go out wide, and then you have Dion Hoto, who also wants to go out wide. So you have no one in the left half space, in the left channel, um, to penetrate that space, because when you drag the defenders out wide, then you need at least the winger to come inside into that space that Marco opens up by going outside. So I think every time Ndlondlo and Tim would try and find Dlamini just couldn't be available in those half channels, in those half spaces, because Hoto and Marco were all going wide, and then there was just no one in the channels for the Pirates midfield to feed the ball into those people to then turn and face the All Stars back line. I thought, yeah, just start of the second half, um, obviously with the introduction of Tim Ngosi Lodge, whom in my pre-match analysis I thought was a no-brainer that he had to start, especially for Otto on that left side, and not just in this game. I think he permanently has to take that position from Dion Otto, and Marco play at left back. Marco's a great left back. I thought even in this game you could see the quality that he has on the ball going forward, even his positioning, going backwards as well. His battles with his winger, he wins them as well. So yeah, but introduction of Teminkosi Lodge in the second half, you already saw that he's so much quality. I think one of the things that I learned in this game is that Lodge is still the best player at Pirates. I know there's a lot of noise about Saleng, and I'm part of that noise for Saleng. I think he's been fantastic, even winning man of the match in this game, which, though I think that Teminkosi Lodge deserved the man of the match in this one. Yeah, but one of the things that I learned is that Teminkosi Lodge is still the best player at Orlando Pirates. And you just see what we missed with him being on the sidelines for so long, that we've somewhat become a bit of a counter-attacking team in his absence. But as soon as he gets on the pitch, like, there's just a dominance and a class and a sheer class that he brings onto the team, and the intricacies that he has in those positions, which is what we were missing in the first half. And I think what was helping now in the second half is that Ndlondlo was able to find him in those channels. Tim was also able to find him. As soon as they found the ball, if they picked their head up in the midfield too, there were just people in those channels. Lodge was coming in there, and Saleng was also coming in there. And I think Otto at the start of the second half would then occupy the wing, and then on the right back would also occupy the wing. So that was helping a lot. Chukamanja was also coming deep to come and get the ball in those channels, and which was really helpful because we could then find them and turn. And a lot of the time, once we bypassed that midfield line of all stars and found those players in the half spaces, we turned. Then it would be 4 against 4, or 3 against 3, or 3 against 4, which is how both goals came. We turned the midfield and the midfield of all stars, and then turned and faced the defense and played those 1-2s and great cutbacks into the space and good finishes into the back of the net. So I thought the second half mostly was the quality of Pirates coming through. I think this game actually was won by the difference in quality of the players. I don't think the coach's approach helped much in this game. I think if the players had gone with that approach of the coach from the first half, this would have been a unnecessarily difficult fixture. But as soon as the players that came onto the pitch, and maybe credit to the coach for that he brought on some of those players. Um, I think, but as soon as like those quality players came on the pitch and they grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck, they won it for themselves. Likes of Loch and Pule and Munyani, I think also is someone who should take that right back permanently. Just going forward, I think he just gives us. I always think that at Pirates we need to play with dominance and bravery, and players like Munyani at right back are not afraid to get into the winger's face, to get into the opposite fullback's face and attack that space, and give us width on the other side. And I just think that it was amazing to see him back on the pitch as well. And actually, the team that was playing from around the 70th minute, I think is the team that we ought to use going forward, with the exception of Mtetwa at centre back. I think if Nda can come back into that position, and we could play Koki and Da, or maybe Sbisi and Da. I think that's the team going forward, with Munyani on the right, Sipo Shaine at goalkeeper, Paseka Mako at left back, Tim in the midfield, but preferably Munari. I think in this game I also just saw something, or solidified one of my thoughts, in that Tim is great. I think he's also quite a leader in the team. But I think with Munari, what you get is he's just very good on the ball as well. As much as he's a workhorse and he runs and he doesn't stop running and he marks and he's good at dropping and collecting that ball from the defenders. I think also he's just like really good on the ball. He's good at protecting it. He's one of those players that are really fit, and you can't get the ball off him at his feet. He can keep it sometimes and just rest on it and turn and then pass. So I think Munari is still the player for me to play that defensive midfielder at Pirates, with Ndlondlo and Dlamini, arguably Pule or Loch now that we've seen in that other number 8 spot. Um, Maybe a lot of people will be disappointed with Dlamini. I still think he's got a lot to give. I really think that he's someone who's good in those channels and with the 1-2s in those intricate spaces. I think he had a stinker today. He didn't have a good game. He couldn't find anything going forward. Although I think his positional sense was good, as always is. He's really good at finding himself in those channels and wanting to receive the ball. But I thought he had a bit of a stinker in the first half. But I think it's more of like a team had a stinker more than him. And he's obviously someone who's waiting for the ball in that position from his midfielders, from his deep midfielders, from Tim and Ndlondlo. But yeah, I think just going forward, maybe Lodge can play in that position, which is something that we saw he could play in that number 10, where he's got a bit of freedom. And something that I also saw and liked was the interchanging of positions between Saleng and Lodge, and how Lodge would sometimes go out and then Saleng would come inside, or sometimes Saleng go out and then Lodge come inside. And just how you saw Lodge, sort of just moving about in that number 10, sometimes going to the left, sometimes going to the right. So maybe that's something to consider going forward. Lodge is the number 10. But what I think is that if you have Pule on the left, and then you have Lodge through that center or number 10, and then Saleng on the right. What you could do is sometimes Lodge can go out to the left and Pule can come inside, because I also think Pule is quite good at the number 8/10 position. So that whole interchanging of positions can be something that we can use as a weapon, where Saleng can sometimes come inside and then Pule can go out right, or Lodge could do that. I think it's going to keep the team unpredictable. It's going to keep defenders guessing about what we'll do next, because I think one of the problems that we've had is we've been really predictable with our approach. We've been really one-dimensional in that we're looking to hit teams on the break. We're looking to hit teams on on the attack defensive transition. As soon as we win the ball, it's like we're going for Saleng on the right and Shandu or maybe Monyane on that right side. So I think just going forward, it's going to be interesting if we can play with that three with two guys sitting deep lying, which is Ndlondlo, who's more of a playmaker, and Tim or Munari, preferably Munari, as more of like protection in that midfield, as the legs and as the engine. And then Ndlondlo as more of the creative player, as more of the playmaker. And then Lorch in that number 10, Bula on the left, Saleng on the right, and then up front, obviously, Kemet Erasmus for quality. I think Jukamanja did amazing, especially in the second half. I think Jukamanja is a very intelligent player. I think what sometimes he might lack is the finesse, the goal scoring ability in front of the goal. But I think what he does do is he's good at linking with the midfielders. He's very intelligent. I think we saw in that second goal just how he stretches the defense and goes out for the run, Lodge finding him, and then him cutting the ball back into the almost like a passing back to the D line so that attackers can come onto the finish. I think he's very intelligent for that. For me, I think just going forward, after Kemet Erasmus, I mean, obviously we've still got Dumiso Mabena, whom we've just signed, who can come into that number 10 or even play in that number 9 position. But I think Terence Jukamanja is someone that we ought to consider big time in that position, especially because Erasmus can't play 90 minutes every single game. I think he's someone we can see week in, week out that we need to protect, especially because of his injury history, but you can see that he gets tired quickly on the pitch. So he's someone who gives us about 70 minutes, 60 minutes. So I think Terence Jukamanja just going forward is someone that we ought to consider. I mean, we've still got guys like Evidence Mahopa to come in. We've got our new signing, Marui. If I butchered his name, my apologies, but I think it's Marui, who can still come into that number 9. We don't know what he's about. I've only seen quite a few YouTube videos on him, and he looks quite okay. I mean, nothing special. He just looks like an out-and-out striker who wants to run onto the ball and shoot. But yeah, we've still got him as well. But I think Terence Jukamanja, for that combination play between Lodge, Jukamanja, Pule, and Saleng, I think Jukamanja has been amazing. He's amazing in that sort of thing. His position, his pressing also. He's someone who's quite relentless in trying to press. He runs after the ball in that front line, chasing defenders. So that's something that we can consider going forward. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to say about this game. It's just that, yeah, the coach seems to be someone who keeps making the wrong decisions. And I mean, I don't know if I've got so much patience anymore with. I mean, maybe I want to see how the Chiefs game is going to go, because I think he's going to sit out that Maritzburg game having had a red card in this one. But I want to see how things go in the Soweto derby if he's still in the club. But yeah, I'm losing a bit of patience in that I see a lot of bad decisions that are being made by the technical team, especially with lineups and formations. And it's something that is equivocal, like with the fan base of Pirates. A lot of fans are agreeing with that. We keep making the wrong decisions in terms of who starts. We always start the games wrong, and we've got to always try and win it in the second half. Even in the Sundowns game, in a game where we could have laid a glove on that team, we waited till late, and even later we made the wrong decisions in terms of the personnel that we introduced into the game. In this one as well, the lineup was just very tame and not brave. So I mean, yeah, it's a game where obviously there's the surprise element in this competition, and with these sort of fixtures, not knowing the players, not knowing, with not a lot of material to be able to analyze this team, and for the analysts in the club to be working around how to deal with this sort of team. But however, I think just from quality perspective, it's a game that we should have won. I think if we'd lost this one, it would have been a huge crisis, especially with the formation that we started with and the players that we started with. I think it would have been a great crisis. I think the coach would have been in huge trouble had he lost this one. But I mean, yeah, some of us are just here thinking that it's the players that won the game for him. I think I give credit to the players. I think individually they did themselves proud in that they got themselves out of a rut that was so unnecessary. And yeah, so just going forward, it's going to be a case of me looking at the coach like with extra vigilance just to see what he's about, because so far I thought maybe, and I was in the camp of let's be patient to see what the coach is trying to do in the club. But week in week out, I mean, we're at a point now, especially in the league, where the league is all won. I think Sundowns have wrapped it up by now, so I would think that the coach would be going for games now, because we've got nothing to defend. We're not going head to head where we need to defend a 0-0 or something and hope to score later. I think even in that case, I want my team to be brave and go for it, especially if my team is Orlando Pirates. I think we're a big club. We need to be going for things. We need to be going for titles. And that's just something that I'm not seeing in this coach. But I think I would like to be a bit more patient, especially up to that Chiefs game. And just going from there, um, yeah, I think we ought to be thinking about, is he the right guy to take us forward? Is he, because, yeah, I mean, we all know the players are there. And I'll maybe do a show very soon about a squad analysis, because even though I think we've got the players, I still think that it's a short term squad that we've got. But however, the players are there, the quality is there currently. In this present moment, we've got quality all around in the club. We're just not seeing the quality on the field. And I think that's down to the coach. Maybe down to the players sometimes, but mainly down to the coach. If the players aren't performing, it's down to the coach. He needs to get the players to perform. And yeah, so for now, happy with the win. Looking forward to that Marisburg game at the Orlando Stadium. Up the Mighty Bucks. Cheers.